What do you know? This is episode 95. And really happy to have you here with me. As you can see, I'm still experimenting with the stuff, with this setup itself. So if you're watching this for the first time and you're wondering what's going on here, um, my name is Melvin, and I'm the host of the Melvin Live Show. And on this show itself, what I talked about are essentially the mindset, skill set, and tool set of building a one person, 1 million all digital business. And this kind of date back from when I first started building my consulting practice. I thought what I had was a business, but in fact, there was a job because number one thing is when I stop working, the money stops. The other thing is that I experienced this whole think about a feast versus famine. And also the other aspect is that I had difficulty scaling. I find that I couldn't replicate myself fast enough. And so fast forward to 10 years later, what I began was a journey of looking for a way to earn an income even while I sleep. And so that's where I was trying out many things like blogging and creating newsletters and all that stuff until I came upon making videos. And I really enjoy making videos because I believe I am pretty natural in front of the camera, and I kind of like being in front of the camera. And so that kind of gives me an advantage. And so it has gone on to what it is here. So 2018, 2019 was a good year. I really put in the effort, put in the work to really build out my personal brand. And here is where I am. So right now I am building a side business, and this side business essentially is about this one person, 1 million all digital business. And so the main idea behind this really is that I want to be able to work from anywhere and not to be tied down to one place itself. And so that kind of started me on this journey, right? And this show is sponsored by Catalytic Courses. So if you ever wanted to get started building a digital business but do not know where to start, Catalytic Courses would have the full range of courses to help you get started, whether you are starting from scratch, i.e., identifying your personal brand and how to build your personal brand, to having a personal brand, but looking at how you are able to codify whatever you know into a digital products so that you can scale. And if you have a personal brand, you have digital product, then the other aspect that can really help you is the marketing, right? How can we create an automated marketing process and putting together all the different tools so that it's able to give you um, that ability to get to where you want to go, right? So if you want to check out, if you want to work on your digital business, you want to check out catalyticcourses.com. All right. And so today's episode is pretty interesting, at least to me, because I want to talk about this idea of what if you have given in all your best, but no one shows up? I mean, there are times where I put up a live show like this and I had like zero views, right? And so how do I cope with that? I mean, do I beat myself up? Do I review why it was not done? Why wasn't I, generating all that kind of views, for example? And so I like to kind of break this down into a few parts. So first part is you've given in your all. Now, what does that mean? Actually, that means different thing for different people. So when we talk about a live stream itself, there are actually three parts that we need to take into consideration. One part is the audience, right? So the audience is our primary focus, because the reason why I'm making this videos is because I want to be able to help you, my audience. So the first thing that you have to address would be the audience. Who are they? What problems do they have? So that's the first part. The second part of the live show really is about what is your business objective, or what is your objective. So the objective could be, I have this idea and I just want to put it out there, right? I want to put it out there and I want to put it in such a way that it kind of increases my chance of getting other people to discover it. So, what exactly is the objective? So, the objective could be something as simple as, I just want to practice. So, I don't really care about whether people are watching or not. But my objective is, I want to have enough practice. And so that could be one aspect of it. Now, the other, another objective could be, I'm done with practicing. Now I really want to reach out to my audience. I want as many people to see as possible, right? So that's the objective. And so once you have figured out the audience, who are they, what they want, you figure out your objective. Why are you making this video? Then the third part is to look at the presentation. So the presentation, if you break it down, there are a few more parts. For example, we will be talking about the way that you are going to live stream the show, right? How is it, how are you going to be doing it? That could be the presentation. The presentation could be also the material and the content that you're going to be putting out, right? So that's another key part of the presentation itself. Now, the presentation could also mean the quality of your live stream. So that is another thing to think about. So in all fairness, there are three aspects of the live stream that you have to take into account of. So that is one part of it. So when we talk about you giving in your best, or you giving it your all, did you look at all these three parts, or are you very clear about what exactly do you mean by all? All means you have done your research, you have identified your objective, and you have figured out how you are going to make the presentation. Now, so once you've done that, then the next part really is to say that, what if people do not show up? Now, I think, in all fairness, we all want to create content, and it's our hope that people would discover us and people would want to follow us. Now, very often that may not be the case, because there's just so much content out there, and just so many content creators out there, that sometimes it may not be absolutely possible for you to be able to see that kind of outcome almost immediately. Now, that being said, what are some of the things that you could do? Now, of course, you can talk about, what if you promote it, right? What if you promote your show before you actually put it out? So like for me, I tell people that every day there's a live show that's going to happen at about 9:15 p.m. Singapore time, or 9:15 a.m. Eastern time. And that kind of gives people an idea, like, okay, it's around this time that I will be broadcasting live. So of course, people who have followed me from the other social media platform would then be notified, and they would then want to decide whether they would want to watch me or not, right? But if I'm just going to jump on it, at some random time every day, and not tell anybody, I mean, unless I am some kind of a celebrity, which I'm not, right? But unless I'm some kind of celebrity, otherwise it's just not going to happen, right? It's just not going to happen. And so, what are some of the things that we can do? Of course, one is to promote. The other one is to collaborate with other content creators to be able to tap on their audience and to be able to bring that audience to you. Now, that's something that I've done very much on LinkedIn, but on YouTube itself, that's something that I'm still experimenting with. Let's just put it that way. And so, that's the part. So, let's go back to our title here today. What happens when you give your all and no one shows up? I think the answer is simple. If we know what is our objective, what is our reason for wanting to do this, if we're doing this for the whole purpose of reaching out to other people and reaching out to our intended audience, and we are not getting the kind of views, then obviously something is not working. You have to tweak it, you have to do something about it. You probably have to create more, or you have to create higher quality videos, for example, to get people to like it, watch it, and for the algorithm to pick that up, for instance. Now, and of course, live streaming is extremely difficult itself, because unless you already have a ready audience itself, I think it's going to be quite a huge challenge. That said, are there ways to kind of get around that? Of course there are ways, right? So that we will talk about in subsequent episodes itself. But let's just go back to this idea of what if nobody shows up. Now, for me, that has happened to me quite a number of times, and to be frankly, the initial response was, oh shit, what am I doing wrong? And if that kind of persists over a couple of days, I may even turn up and say that, hey, maybe I am actually doing something that it's wrong, or I'm just not doing it right. And so, I better look into it, because I'm just wasting time. But truth be told is that for me, I think when I look at the journey of doing anything at all, at least for me, that's what I believe in. Yeah, based on my experience of creating videos, creating podcasts, writing articles, for example, I find that this number, I do not know, but it's magical. This number of 100, it's something that I seek to cross as a first hurdle. And so the first 100, whatever that you create, unfortunately, I'm going to tell you that this first 100 thing that you create is going to be crappy. And very likely you are not going to get much of an attention. And even if you do, people may not be very kind in terms of their comments or in terms of their words. Of course, you have people who are extremely kind, extremely encouraging, and all that, well and good. But by and large, I think we all have experienced that, right? People talking about how bad the video is, how bad the audio is, and all that stuff. And so the way I look at it is that the first 100 episodes will be crappy. Now, understanding that it will be crappy, it doesn't automatically give you the right to just be crappy, if you understand what I'm saying. So I know that my first 100, it's not going to be the best, but that doesn't mean that I could just do it and get it over and done with. It is more of, I know that this first 100 is going to be bad. That's it, I'm still going to give in my all. And as I give in my all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to learn from all the mistakes that I've made. And I've also going to learn from other people who have demonstrated some significant results that I want to be able to replicate. So there are few people that I am right now watching on YouTube, because I want to know what is it that they do and how is it that they do it, right? And I want to learn from them, And at some point in time, I'll reach out to them. I want to be able to see if there is an opportunity to collaborate with them. And so that's really, it's the whole idea behind it. And so that first 100 is the first 100 that I'm prepared to do it and know that I am probably not going to see the kind of results that I would expect after the first 100. But if it does happen before the first 100, well and good, right? Like on LinkedIn itself, I wasn't even creating I wasn't even creating 40 videos. I think it was into my 20 videos, I was already, hitting the right spot. So it can happen. It doesn't mean it will not happen. It can happen. But let's say, do not expect it to always happen. All right. So it can happen, but do not have that expectation that it will happen. So that's the first phase. Now, the second phase really is then to be able to put out content that is solid, that it's really, really of high quality. And this is where you really go in and you really know your stuff, because in the first 100 videos you have made all the mistakes. Doesn't mean you're not going to make them. You're not going to make mistakes after this. It's just that most of those amateur or beginners mistakes, those are made in hopefully in the first 100. By the time when it comes to 101 onwards, you have kind of turned pro, because by then you would know all the rookie mistakes that you should not be making. And what you're going to be focusing on is how you are able to make sure that the videos that you put out are of good quality and they are valuable to the audience that you want to serve. And when you come to that stage itself, you might not even see the kind of results that you expect. That every time you turn on the camera, you're going to see thousands of views, right? I mean, for me, when I was on LinkedIn, I think after the 40th video onwards, every video that I put out, I get at least 3,000 views. But like I say, do not expect that can happen. That is something that you would want to work towards. But even with the next phase of the next 100 videos itself, I would then be very prudent and say that you're not probably going to get into, YouTube stardom kind of status. You are probably really good. And now is where people start taking notice of you. And as you put out more content, you become better. And as you become better, you engage with your audience, and your voice develops, and you become a lot more finesse in terms of your delivery and elegant in terms of your video itself. And so the whole thing becomes really, really polished. And so that's the second phase. So the second phase is really where you put out great content and you start building that audience, you start building that community, you start building that group of people who would then become your true fans. And I would say in that second phase itself, it's where it is reasonable to expect to build a great audience of 100 people, right? A great size of audience for 100 people. And that's in the second phase. Now, with that second phase in place and having met those milestones, then is where you go to the third phase. And the third phase is really about being able to grow. And I think this is where most people kind of hit the snag. Because when I was on LinkedIn, the growing part was difficult. It was difficult because it requires a different mindset and a different set of skills to be able to grow after having amassed that level of audience. So when I look back, I constantly ask myself, did I miss out on the opportunity to monetize that attention? Or am I doing it right? Just focusing on building relationships. And, I think from the COVID-19 um, situation itself, I think I made the right choice by not focusing on monetizing the attention, but instead focusing on building relationship. And it is through those relationships that I have, not with a lot of people, but with a handful group of people. It's through that relationship itself that I was able to kind of support them and they were able to support me. And that I think it's absolutely, absolutely invaluable. Right. So I think in all fairness, you can talk about whether you should be um, upset or disappointed that you're not making that kind of not getting that kind of attention. Should you quit? Should you not quit? Well, I think you really first and foremost need to be very clear what is your objective, right? And be clear, be realistic, and also have high expectations of yourself. So that it's really, really key. Now, secondly, it's you then need to know which phase you are in. If you're at the first phase and you're not seeing a lot of people show up, the the advice is that you want to keep grinding. You want to make all the rookie mistakes, address them, and get that right and ready for phase two. And in phase two is really being very polished, putting out great content, reaching out to the right audience, and moving to into amassing that group of people that you are able to build as a community. And of course, when you are in phase three, then this is a time where you really can focus on the numbers, you can focus on monetizing it. And so let's be clear here. If you're just starting out and no one's showing up, do not beat yourself up and do not quit, but instead focusing on identifying the mistakes, rectifying those mistakes so that you can get to phase two quickly. And for me, it's just that magic number of 100. For you, it could be 50 or it could be 200. So you know yourself best, right? And with that, thank you so much for watching. It has been a great honor to be, for the last 95 days to be able to present to you. As you can see, I kind of changed up the mic here today. I'm testing out the Blue Yeti to see how it sounds. I'm not quite satisfied with it at this point in time, but I think it's a lot better than the other mics that I was using. But nonetheless, I think it is a great, great microphone, and it's definitely something that I am going to be looking forward to using it more. Well, if you have got comments, let me know in the comments below. Leave me a question if you have one for me. And with that, I thank you so much. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.